Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to this week's live weekly webinar for the Investor Agent training program. And again, we do have some veterans on the line here going back even to last year, and also people who have gone through other training programs like how to buy rentals and how to buy flips. Okay, so we've got a good mixture of people here, a large group. And the subject matter for tonight is screening tenants. I'm going to go over a flow chart with you, and I'm going to send you the link for the flow chart tomorrow. Beverly's going to actually send it with the recording of tonight's webinar. And we're also going to give you a PDF version copy of our telephone pre-screening form that we'll look at tonight, and also the renter or tenant application that we'll be looking at tonight also. Okay, so that's tonight's main subject matter, as well as open Q&A. So again, take the opportunity to ask questions. You've got me, you've got veterans on the line here. Boy, you couldn't have a better opportunity to get your questions answered. A couple of quick announcements. I've got some really nice surprises for you. The subject of our contact management systems has been coming up with pretty regular consistency. Okay, it's pretty regular. And I was asked last week, what did I use? And I always use Top Producer working with clients. Okay, I don't mind the KW systems. I like them, but Top Producer's just been around a long time. They've really mastered their game in the last several years, and they also have all the KW marketing campaigns loaded on their system. So you have easy direct access to them, and you can put your clients in drip campaigns where they automatically get notified and contacted, so you don't have to be doing so much manual labor. So what I thought I would do is I asked Beverly if she would be comfortable jumping on the webinar next week and talk about our contact management system. You get to look at mine. And it's originally I think I started off with maybe I don't even know if I had 200 people, and over the years it's grown. I don't know how many people are on it now, probably close to 60,000 people, because we market nationwide. We market coast to coast. That's why we're able to generate referrals. So I thought I would bring Beverly on. We're going to do it on a webinar format, so we actually will have a recording to send to you guys. So when it comes to you looking at your own contact management system, building it, maintaining it, basically farming it, and essentially nurturing it, how to cull it, okay, how to eliminate stuff that shouldn't be there, and make sure you're ranking your contacts on a regular basis, so you know you're staying in contact with the most important ones, and you put people on automatic campaigns based on how you categorize them and how you rank them. So Beverly is going to go into a little bit of give you some insight on how all that's done and how she does it. And she learned it on her own. She didn't have any special training. We got these systems years ago, and she taught herself. And she'll be the first to tell you anybody can do this stuff. The reason I want to focus on it next week is because it's been a regular subject topic of conversation. It also is literally the foundation of your real estate business. And I know a lot of people have not taken it seriously, and they're using notebooks. And I'm not saying notebooks aren't a good thing, but there's so much system, there's so many systems out there that offer so much to you, that do a lot of the work for you. It's automated. You don't have to do it yourself, and it will make you a better realtor. So it's that important, and we're going to absolutely focus on it next week. Okay, so that's next week. Now the following week, and I think we're going to have to get the word out on this one, because it's if you think the interview with Beverly is going to be good with the live demonstrations, the following week we're going to have a guy on. His name's Seth Green. He's a friend of mine, lives in Buffalo, New York. He just happens to be one of the top social marketing gurus right now in North America. He's an expert with Facebook, and he's an expert with podcast. Okay, so we've got him contracted for 2 interviews. One we're going to do on the hang on, let me give it the date here, November the 11th. So mark your calendars. You're going to get a guy who charges thousands of dollars an hour to work with people, and he's going to be online with all of us. Okay, not just once, but we're going to do it again. So that the one on the 11th of November is going to be talking about Facebook. We're going to have him on again in December. We've contracted with him in December to talk about podcasts. So the reason this is important, I'm not a real big fan of podcasts when it comes to your traditional real estate clients, but I am a big fan of podcasts when it comes to your investor clients, because you have a regular recurring group of people that you're working with over and over again doing multiple transactions. And if you're like, I don't know if Daniel David's on tonight. I don't think he is. I just talked to him today. He's out in the Kentucky area, and he started, let's see, he went through the training program mid-May, finished up, I think, right around July 1st. So July, August, September, October, he has his own group going on, his own meetup group. He's already got 50 people already in 4 months, guys. Okay. So in any case, he's a great candidate for doing podcasts. So we're going to talk about that in December. One of these sessions in December, we're going to record it and do it live, so Seth can demonstrate it for us, and we're going to give it out to you guys in a recording. So it's all free. You don't have to pay for any of that stuff. It's all free as part of the program. So mark your calendars. I don't have the December date set yet, but we should have it set here in another couple of weeks, because Seth is a high demand guy, and he works with the top marketers in the marketing industry. I mean, the top marketing gurus go to him. That's how sharp he is. Okay. I've used him too, and I'm getting ready to use him again because he's that good. Okay, so mark your calendars for that. Hopefully that brought some smiles to people's faces. Okay. Let's see here. Let me check your questions one more time, and if everybody's okay, I'm going to start in. Okay, looks like everybody's okay. So make sure you have your pens and pencils handy and your notepads. Again, this is being recorded, but again, when you write things down, you have a higher retention rate. Okay. So, in any case, tonight's subject, the primary subject, is screening tenants. All right. So let's walk through this flow chart, and then we're going to look at the forms, and then I'm going to answer questions, and then I'm going to help you fill in some gaps. I'm going to give you some nuances of things I've learned over 30 years. Like for example, when you ask for a deposit, what actually do you do? We'll get into some of that tonight, okay? So here we go. Tenant screening, the ultimate step-by-step guide. Number one, you can see right there, is always set your standards, okay? And here are a good set of standards to live by. Number one is a prospective tenant's income should always be about 3 times of their proposed rent. So if you're renting a unit for $1,000 a month, their income should be 3 times that, which is $3,000. Okay. Now, what I like to do is, I always get this question: is this based on gross or net, gross income or take-home income? What I like to do is I like to say it's 1/4 of gross income and 1/3 of take-home income, which is net income. Now that's very aggressive and it's hard to do. The industry standard is 1/3 of gross. So you make your own decision if you want to be aggressive or conservative. A lot of your answers are going to be determined based on where you are in North America. Again, you've got some high priced areas, whether it's in Canada or US, where having 3 times the gross, that even is going to be a stretch. All right. However, you got some areas like Dayton, Ohio, and I'm not picking on Dayton, I just happen to know the area, where the average home price is only $70,000. There, you're not going to have a hard time finding people whose gross income is 3 times higher than the average rent. Okay, but yes, you might have a hard time coming up with that in San Francisco, Toronto, New York, and Washington D.C., even Chicago, for example. So in any case, that's the guideline. You can choose whether you want to use 4 times. 1/4 of a person's take-home pay, or 1/3 of a person's take-home pay, or 1/4 of their gross pay, or use this guideline right here, which says 1/3, and that is gross. Okay. All right. That's the first thing. The second thing. Oh, look, and we got a question, and there it is. Is it gross or net? So very good question, Tina. Let's see. Is this? Want to see? Hey, it is Tina. Hi, Tina. I'm so glad you're on. Tina Perez. Thank goodness. Hey, Tina. Tomorrow I'm going to be driving from Boston, Mass to London, Ontario. So I will have like 9 hours of spare time. And because I'm 3 hours ahead of you, I won't get in till 2 in the morning, which is 11 o'clock your time. So if you got time off tomorrow in late afternoon your time, early evening, give me a call and we can catch up. Okay? Because I think we missed each other last month and we got to catch up. Okay, sorry for the interruption, guys. Tina and I go way back to the springtime, and she's from the beautiful Bay Area of San Francisco. Oh, Tina, I'll be out in Sacramento the first week of December. Okay, so it won't be too far from me. As a matter of fact, I'll be in Stockton on Wednesday, December 2nd. So maybe we can find a way to meet up out there if it's not too far of a drive for you. Okay, let me go back here, guys. I'm sorry I got distracted. So Tina distracted me. Okay, let's see here. Where am I? I'm on the second part, which is good references. Okay. Um, when I do an application, and when we go through this, guys, don't worry. We're gonna go to an application and look at it. I want to show you what I do. All right. When I look at references, I want a couple of references. I don't want just one references. One reference. I want two or more, sometimes even three. And what I do is this. I will call the references. Okay. And when I call the references, I ask for other references. Now, this may sound like it takes a lot of work, but I promise you guys, if you've got some really nice units that you're renting for top dollar, you have got to make sure you screen these people properly. And one of the things that I've learned to do is don't just take everything at face value. Dig one layer deeper at a minimum. So you get two references, call them, check them out, and while you're on, say, hey, by the way, do you know anybody else that would know this particular applicant? Okay. And see if you can get some contact information and call them too. Okay, that's a pretty good nifty trick for being a landlord. Okay, that's number two. Number three is no evictions ever, and it actually says it right here, and I absolutely agree. That is so serious because you will screen possible tenants, you will screen applicants, and some of those who've had evictions will tell you, hey, it wasn't my fault. It was a no good, sleazy, slimeball landlord. It's always the landlord's fault. Well, it's not always the landlord's fault. The bottom line is this. Um, I generally would never, ever take a chance on somebody who's ever been evicted. I don't even care what the circumstances were. The fact is, some owner, some landlord saw it in themselves that whatever was going on was so serious, they had to evict the tenant. The tenant had to be involved. A judge, a court is never going to allow an eviction of a tenant if the tenant is not at fault in one way, shape, or form. So keep that in mind, guys. Again, you're going to have people tell you every kind of story imaginable. I mean, I actually wrote a book on this stuff. And what I learned is this. Judges are usually pretty reasonable people. They would never evict a tenant if the tenant was not truly at fault at something. So if the tenant is at fault at something, typically it's going to involve not paying rent. Now, they may not have paid rent because they were ticked off because they wanted new carpeting and didn't get it. Who knows what the reason is. The bottom line is they didn't pay rent or they destroyed the apartment. No matter how you slice it, for some reason they got evicted. It can't be good. You don't want to take a chance on them. So that is an absolute no-no, and we are dead serious about that. So I hope you take that to heart. Okay, number 4 is clean background, no felonies or other negative criminal activities on the record. And I agree wholeheartedly. So let me dig into this subject here just a little bit. When you do a background check on somebody, you're going to be doing credit history, employment history, domicile history, which is where they've lived, and public record history, which is their background in the court records. Okay. Now you could have people with misdemeanors and you can have people with felonies. The bottom line is this. Any felony at all, I absolutely will not accept those people. I don't care what it is. I'm particularly have a pet peeve for people who are involved in crimes that were, violent crimes against other people or crimes that violated another person's personal property or the person themselves. Never, ever, ever will I let them in my apartments, okay? Now, I've had situations at least twice over 30 years where I would have a long-term tenant, like a mom, for example. She would have been there 3 years, 5 years, and then all of a sudden she calls up and says, "Hey, my son is getting out of jail, and I want him to come live with me." And when I first had this happen, I thought, I better look into this. And thank goodness I did, because the kid was in jail for some pretty serious stuff. So I called the tenant. I said, I can't allow it. I'm sorry. Well, she ended up moving. Okay. But it turns out later the kid did get in trouble again. It was on the news. And thank goodness he wasn't living in one of my apartments, disturbing all my other tenants. All right. Um, so in any case, I had another situation where a parole officer called me and said, "Hey, so and so is getting out of jail. He's going to be living with his mother at such and such an address. I understand you own that. Do you understand your rights?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know, but please tell me what's going on." And he told me they have to disclose what the person did. And again, I refused. I said, "No, I can't have you live in this apartment." And I told his mother obviously the same thing. Now, you may have some different standards. I don't know. If you have people who've had DUIs and so forth, make your own judgment, okay? But always follow your intuition, okay? Follow your instincts, because they're usually right. And I just learned to draw the line because I felt like I had a responsibility for all my other tenants in the area. And if I allowed somebody in there who had been in trouble in the past, they might be more likely to be in trouble in the future versus other people who had never been in trouble before. And if something happened, I would feel partly responsible for letting that guy in on one of my properties. Okay, so that's my rule. All right, now let me take a quick check here and look for questions. Okay, let's see. Some people said my voice is fading. It looks okay. So it's just back now. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't pay attention. Um, let's see. This is Tina Perez. Let's see. Amen. I agree. I did it before and regretted it. Ended up evicting this person 2 months into our lease. Awesome, Tina. Thank you for sharing that, because you're exactly right. Okay, Carolyn says, "Do you do a sex offender search?" Um, Actually, what's supposed to happen is uh, when you have someone who's on the I forget what they call it. There is a list, sex offender list. I think they call it the Megan Law. Um, when you run an application or a background check, that's supposed to be done automatically for you. So the question is, from Carolyn, do you do a sex offender search? The, when we do a background check, again, credit, work history, domicile history, and in public record, that shows up automatically. So I've never gone and done a specific background, a Megan's List um, background search. I've never had to, because it comes up automatically in my searches. All right, um, and also that's the one area. Like in real estate sales, for example, and I believe this is national. I don't think this is at state level. I think it's national. Um, if you are aware of that, you have to disclose it no matter what. Okay, it's one of the few things that you're required by law to disclose if you're aware of it as a realtor. Okay, in other words, anything that's not related to the physical characteristics of a property, it's considered personal information, and you're supposed to keep your client's personal information confident. The one exception is if they're on Mega's list. Okay, you have to disclose that no matter what. Okay, let's see here. Um, renting to someone with an eviction mean with an eviction is renting to someone with an eviction is mean. So Tina, I'm not sure if I understand that. It says renting to someone with an eviction. I mean, oh, you're saying you mean that? Okay, yes, you're absolutely right, Tina. You rent to someone with an eviction, and you paid the price. Yep, and you're right. Megan's Law is a national law, um, and there is a sex offender registry. So again, uh, in the past when I screen them, and we've had a number of different services in the past. Um, there's NTR, I believe it's called, National Tenant. Does national tenant background check. That's the most popular for individual or independent property owners. However, if you get properties managed by a property management company, they're going to obviously screen for you. Okay, so if you look for NTR, that's usually like the kind of the industry standard for tenant screening, and they do everything. I'm trying to think of some of the others I've used in the past, and I can't really. I think they were all pretty local. That one is a national one though. NTR is national, so I would use that one if I was you guys. Okay, let's see here. Let's move on here. So far, that's our standards were being set. All right. Now, as far as pre-screening, this is really important. When you do your marketing, when you're advertising a property, okay, the wording of your marketing is very important because you can actually use your marketing to do some pre-screening. All right. You describe the property as thoroughly as possible, and the reason is if you don't provide the number of bedrooms and all that type of stuff, I actually always put price on mine too, because if I have a unit that's rented for $2,000 a month, I don't want people calling me that can only afford $1,000 a month. So I tell them it's $2,000 a month. I also put in there the number of bedrooms, whether or not it has a yard, whether it has parking or not, laundry or not, and also if I allow pets or not, because there are a lot of applicants who they only want to rent a place with off-street parking. And if my property does not have off-street parking, I'll pre-screen them right away, because why would I have them come look at the property if they don't want to, if they require off-street parking and I can't offer that? So let your advertising, your marketing do pre-screening for you. Very, very important, okay? Now, the next thing is when people respond to your marketing, obviously they're going to call you on the phone. And this is where we use the telephone pre-screening checklist, okay? So let's go take a look at that while we're talking about it. The bottom line is this: you're using this as a front-end piece to save you a lot of time, energy, and money, and using gas and wear and tear on your car. So let's pull that up, okay? Phone screening right here. I've got to reduce my panel just a little bit so I can get the whole thing in view so you guys can see it. Okay, so this is phone screening. You can see up here, when people call you on the phone, whether you answer the phone directly or you return a voicemail, okay, you always want to get all of their basic information, telephone, you know, by the way, you're really not supposed to ask them how many children they have. That can be construed as discrimination, because familial status is a protected class. So what you do is you ask for how many bedrooms do you require. Okay, always remember that. How many bedrooms do you require? You also want to ask them about their income. You know, do they have enough for the deposit, and when are they looking to move? All right. You make special notes on that. You can call them back again if you like. I've done that before. All right. Because what I do is I'll do a telephone screening, and I think if I think they're decent candidates, I will tell them to go by the property, okay, and to call me when they're done, and then do a second phone call. All right. Now, obviously, there's all these, you know, I'll do multiple calls. These calls are actually set up because it's different people. That's all these are. All right. But you want to take notes on things that they said, questions they ask, okay, and you want to kind of rate them a little bit. Right. That's the telephone pre-screening worksheet. Okay, so then they go by to the property. Oops, hang on one second here. Let me go back here. They go to the property. They do a drive-by. They make sure the area is suitable for their needs. They're close enough to school, shopping, whatever the case is. Okay. Now you can agree. They'll call you back, and you do a second phone call to set up the appointment to go see the property. Now, here's a big trick that I learned over the years. I never show apartments to individual people. I never do individual showings on rentals. I always do group showings, and I always do them typically on a Saturday morning from like 9 to 11. Okay. I might do a 1 or 2 weekends during the week if I can get 3 or 4 or 5 people to come by the property in the evening. I just generally don't like to do that. Generally, I like Saturdays because it's daytime. There's lots of activity, more people can come out on Saturdays, all right? So I'll pre-screen several people and tell them, okay, I'm going to be at the property Saturday from 9 to 11, for example, and I set up, and this is important, I write this down, I make the appointments in 15-minute intervals. So one person is at 9, another person is 9:15, 9:30, 9:45. This accomplishes a couple things. It allows you to have some one-on-one time with each person or a group of people, because sometimes they come together with the spouse and the children, okay? And also what happens is they're close enough together where you have some inevitable overlap. And the overlap creates urgency in the applicants' minds because they see, holy smokes, we're not the only ones coming to look at this unit. We really like it. We better make our application and put our deposit down quickly. It works wonders. And the third thing is this, guys. I'm only going out to the property one time to show it. I'm not going 5 and 6 and 10 times. I'm only going one time to show it to 5 or 6 or 10 people, all in the same 2-hour time frame. And the fourth benefit is this. Some people actually don't show up. So you make 8 or 10 appointments, maybe 5, maybe 8 of them show up. I don't know. This at some point you're going to have some no-shows. So you never want to make an individual appointment because it's risky for you, risky to you in a personal nature. You could be putting yourself up in a dangerous situation. Also, if you make an individual appointment and then they don't show up, you just completely wasted your time. That's why I always did those group showings, but I spaced them apart every 15 minutes. Okay, now let's see you come to the department. You like them, they like you. While you're there, you're asking them questions, you're answering their questions, and so forth. Now you take out the application, okay? So let's look at these questions, and then we'll go look at an application. You always want to get the basic information first. Name, phone, current address, previous address. All right, social security number, date of birth, current and past landlords. By the way, another trick here. Let's take a quick pause. I'm going to tell you my trick. I don't just call current and past landlords. I don't just call the guys on the list, on the application that they give me. I will also ask them, hey, past landlord, I see that you rented to her 2 landlords ago. Do you have records? Can you tell me who she rented from before you? And if I can find out who the prior landlord is, going 3 deep, I will call that guy too. By the way, when I do the background check, remember their domicile history comes up too. The report will give me where they've lived in the past 5 years, and it could be 4 or 5 people deep. I will look those people up on the county website, see if I can find their phone number, and call them up. And that's done wonders because every now and then I'll find somebody who was basically looking to pull the wool over my eyes, and I was able to stop a disaster from occurring. So always remember that. Call past, current, past, and prior to past landlords, okay? Okay, in any case, moving ahead here, you also want to get employer information and job details, and you want to get it for the last 3 years, so that if they've had multiple employers in the last 3 years, you want all that information, okay? And also put on your forms and your applications, ask them, have they had broken leases? Have they been evicted? Have they had judgments against them, okay? Now, you also have them sign a release, okay? That means you have the right to go check all these references and gather their information and do a background check on them. You have to have their signature saying that you have the right to do a background check on them. Very, very important, okay? So let's go look at the application, all right? And here it is right here, rental application. Everybody over the age of 18 needs to be on this application, okay? Proposed occupants. So if it's 2 adults in their 40s or 50s and an 18-year-old child because they're going to college and home on the summers and weekends, you want the name of it. Anybody over the age of 18. Actually, you want everybody in the house on your application for proposed occupants. What I like to do is if they're over the age of 18, I like to get everybody providing their social security number who's over the age of 18. So you get all that information. You get their current address, the previous address, and the one prior to that, go 3 deep, right? You get all the people who are going to be living in the home. This is everybody, not just adults, but everybody who's 1 day or older. They're going to put their name and their relationship there, okay? You're going to have them list pets, and we'll save this for a different subject. If I have time, I'll tell you how I feel about pets, okay? You also want vehicle information. Okay, very important. Here's your employment background, okay? Current employer, occupation, and this is 2 slots for 2 adults, for example, okay? You want credit card information if they have it. You want, and this is very important, guys, emergency/personal reference information, okay? Let me backtrack here real quick before I get into that. I want to make sure we cover this correctly. Yes, occupants, pets, vehicle information, employment information, income information, okay? This is a pretty thorough application, but it's thorough for a reason. Credit card application, or excuse me, credit card information, okay? Or any other credit type information. Bank information, okay? Very important. But here's why I always insist on getting very thorough emergency or personal reference information, okay? Let's say you rent the apartment or house to somebody and they're great tenants, and then 2 years later things turn south and all of a sudden they stop paying their rent. And you've got a 2-year history that says they're pretty darn good people. What the heck's going on here? Before you go and file for the eviction right away, what you can do is go to your application, call the people on the emergency contact list, and or call the people on the personal reference list, or call all 4 of them, okay? Because here's the deal. A lot of people actually will put their mom here on personal reference. They'll put their mom. It's the strangest thing, but a lot of them do it. It's crazy. Emergency contact, they are definitely going to put somebody on here who they deem to be responsible and reliable. Now think about that. Responsible, reliable people, and your tenant after 2 years has all of a sudden become unreliable. Well, you go to this list, call these reliable people and say, hey, so-and-so hasn't been paying their rent. We're trying to find them. This is getting pretty urgent here. Can you please help out? Okay, however you want to word it. You basically want to see if they will help you locate this person, get a hold of them. At a minimum, they will turn right around as soon as you hang up the phone, and they will call the person and say, hey, you jerk, these people call me because you haven't paid your rent. You better straighten this nonsense out. And the tenant who's not paying his rent, if this is a parent, is going to be thoroughly embarrassed. And don't be surprised if they don't pay the rent within 24 hours. I love that technique for non-payers, okay? Okay, applicant questionnaire. Here's where you want to get some of their information, like have they ever been locked out of an apartment by a sheriff? Have they ever been brought to court by a landlord? Have they ever moved while still owing rent or having unpaid, uncorrected damage to an apartment? In any case, what do you want to do now at this point, guys, is you've got all this information, you've taken a lot of notes here, okay? What I do is I go back to the telephone questionnaire and I compare notes, because sometimes people who are trying to get out of where they are now and get into another place, and partly because they're in some kind of trouble, they will tell you something on the phone interview just to get to go see the apartment that may or may not be true, and they will typically forget about it. So what you do is you go to their application, okay, and you compare what they've given you to what they gave you over the phone, and you've documented on your phone screening questionnaire. So at this point, let me slide my panel back over and look for questions, okay? Let's see, looks like a number of them came in, so hang on one second. Okay, this is from Tina. Tina says, I always ask how many people will be living in the home and don't say the word family or children. Yes, that's very smart, Tina. So you can do that as kind of a safe, non-threatening question, because if you ask them, say, hey, who are all the people who are going to be living with you? Okay, that people could be defensive to that question. So what Tina's saying is, she's absolutely correct. Just say how many people are going to be living here? Almost like it's you're just having a conversation with them, because you are. Okay, all right. This is Lana. Lana says, do these checks with history of previous landlords work in Canada? Can we use this service in Canada? Yes, I believe you can. In fact, I'm going to find out who my partner uses out in London. I've got another partner up in Hamilton, and I will find out, Lana, who they use. But if you Google it, Lana, Google tenant screening services in Ontario, and you'll get all the big providers. And many of them do work across North America. They're not just in Canada. They're not just in the States. They work across borders. You'll find a number of them. And by the way, the larger ones, the most reputable ones, those are the ones that actually work across borders. So you can Google them and find them that way too, guys. There's a number of them out there. but look for the ones that pop up the most regularly, okay? And you can look for reviews, you can look for the cost structure, all kinds of stuff you can look for to compare notes. But the biggies are usually pretty sound, safe, and reliable, okay? Let's see here. We got another question after this. This is Tina. Okay. Do you do backgrounds on all adults on lease? It gets expensive at $30 each, so I always only check background of one. What do you do? Very good question, Tina. I actually check them all. Anybody who's over the age of 18, and I have them each pay the application fee. So years ago, the application fee was $25 because we were only paying $10 for the application, and we make $15 per application. Then the prices started going up with all the privacy laws. All the screening companies started cracking down and trying to eliminate abuse and fraud, and it made it more expensive. So then now you can pay, you're not going to pay that much. I mean, you just said you're paying $30, but if you have an account, Tina, and you belong to an organization like a local property management organization, let's see what would be one for you. Look for apartment association of blank, and your town would be filling in the blank there. Apartment Association of Stockton, Apartment Association of Toronto, Apartment Association of Indianapolis. Whatever the case is, all big cities have them. They all have them. And when you can call them and ask them who do they use, and what they might say is, you know what, just join our organization, become a member of the Apartment Association for $150 a year, and you get all the background checks you want for like $10 a piece. So I would keep that in mind, guys. That's a great way to, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, join a local organization. They're just like the realtors associations. In fact, a lot of them aren't realtors. It's just instead of calling a realtors association, it's called an apartment association. And again, you pay an annual dues, and you get real cheap background checks. Okay, I saved a ton of money just doing that myself. Okay, let's see. Will we get copies of your application? Yes, you're going to get the application tomorrow and also the telephone screening sheet. Okay. So Tina's paying $30 a pop. Lois is 25. Yeah, you know why, Tina? But it's because you're doing it on an individual level, like you're doing it on a one-for-one basis. And Tina says, guys, she uses, it's called Safe Rent, SAFE space RENT. My rentals are out of state. Oh, okay. I think I remember that. Yeah. Let's see. This is Michael O'Keefe. Hey, Michael. How you doing, buddy? In Massachusetts, they are now telling us to have the prospective tenant get their own background checks done and have them send it to us. We have a vendor we send them to. Okay. And you know what's funny, Michael? We actually used to do that too for a while. What we told people was we said, look, we're in a professional apartment business. We're not in a credit checking business. If you want to get your own application, that's fine, but it has to be within the last 7 days. I don't want one that's 30 days old. I don't want it 60 days old. I don't want it 90 days old. I know other landlords who would accept it within 30 days. But what we learned to do, Michael, is we actually did turn it into a profit center because we turned our property management business into a regular line of business, which is what some of you are already starting to do. And we had so many application fees, it turned into a small profit center for us. Okay, so we actually stopped doing that. We did that for a while because we were growing rapidly. We're like, hey, this is something we can eliminate. We never actually could eliminate it all on our own because what happened is a lot of the prospective tenants would go away. Say, you're telling them, go get your own application or your own background check, bring it to me, and we'll move forward. Well, they would never come back. We would lose them. So I stopped doing that. And what I started doing was I reinstituted my credit application fee and my background check. I raised the application fee to $35. And so I made money on the process, and I did my own screening. So Michael, I don't think that's a state law. If it is, just if you could type that in, Michael, let me know, because I do try to keep up with the state laws and the province laws up in Canada. I mean, I know, for example, Quebec is way different than Montreal. I mean, I'm sorry, Toronto, excuse me, or Ontario. Quebec is way different than Ontario. Okay, this is Tina. Tina says, in that case, tenant's still paying a lot for two people, and it gets expensive for them. Yes, it does, but you know what? That's the price you pay in this business today, Tina. So if they have multiple adults, they've got to pay for it. But if it's just two adults, that's typical. They're used to saying, okay, now by the way, if it's a married couple, when you do the background check, you get a different price for married couples. It's not like you're paying double. Instead of it being 30 times 2, which would be 60, it might be 40 or 45 or something. So married couples do get a little bit of a break. It's when people bring in multiple adults greater than 2 that it becomes an issue. But I still do it because I don't want to take a chance, Tina, on letting a criminal in one of my units or letting somebody in who's had multiple evictions. And the only way to do that is to do that background check on each one. Okay, let's see. We are required to do this in my office. So Michael, your office is requiring that. How interesting. I've never heard that before. Michael, do you know why they're doing that? Because that's a little unusual. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Why would they ask you to do that? It must be, Michael. It must have something to do with E&O insurance and liability. I'm willing to bet $1 million that's what it is. Okay, so if that's the case, and if you're doing leasings through MLS listings through your office, and yes, you would follow those office guidelines. However, if you're working for an owner privately, okay, then I would have the tenants do the applications in that case. You make the call, but that's what I would suggest. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't think it's a state law. You're in one of Jason Paracello's offices. You know what? Yeah, do what he says for stuff that comes through the MLS or comes through the office, but anything done outside of that, like your own clients, I would have them have the tenants, or if you're working for the owner, and have the tenants do the, follow the old way, which is you do the background check and have them pay you. Okay. Let's see. Tina says she's going to check on that. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought it was, Michael. They're saying it's liability. So I'm not surprised by that. Massachusetts has gotten very tough. For those of you who are in the New England area, whether it's Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, or parts of New Hampshire that border on Massachusetts. Massachusetts has gotten pretty tough in the last few years, but it's not quite as bad as New York. New York's been tough for a long time. California's pretty tough. Florida is very easy. Toronto can be pretty tough. But in any case, the bottom line is, though, you need to always check things out with your owners of the properties of who you're representing. And if you're running things through your office, always check with your ownership group. In Michael's case, he's checking with his OP, and I happen to know the OP personally, so we're friends. Okay, let's see here. This is Marina. Marina says, in our office, we cannot accept credit report from another company. They have been fraud when people bring in their own credit report. Yeah, so that's a good point, Marina. I never had a problem with people trying to BS me. The problem is they were bringing in old credit reports because they're trying to save money, and in the interim, they've gone out and gotten themselves like a new car or new credit cards, or they changed jobs, things like that, and they're not reporting it, they're not disclosing it. I just would rather have been in control of running the background checks myself. That's my preference. Okay. Let's see. Also, I don't think we can make a profit on application fees. Again, I would like to find out, Michael, if that's an office policy or a state policy, which I would find very unusual because you have to pay for your time. In other words, when people pay an application fee, they're not just paying for the background check. You actually have to spend time making the phone calls to check the references, to check their employment, check their personal references, check their previous landlords. That stuff takes time. That's why I learned to raise my rates, because I had to pay office people to do this stuff. Okay, so you should be charging money to pay for the services, because the product is the background check. The service is you actually going through the motions of calling everybody. You deserve to be paid for that. Okay, the company will send it directly to us. Oh, I see what you're saying, Michael. Okay, so the tenant gets it done, and they have the company send it directly to you. Now that's how you can avoid fraud and people being misleading. Okay, but you still have to do the work to go through the background check, Michael. So I would still charge these people. You can call it a screening fee or something. I would really be surprised if there was a state law against that. Okay. But we'll find out. Let's find out, and then we'll know for certain. Okay. Um, let's see. Tom Maloney's on. Hi, Tom. In Jason's offices, you cannot charge an application fee, and it is a liability issue. You can pass on the cost of the tenant. So I guess that's just kind of what we just talked about there. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go back to the flow chart. All right. So you've got all your information. You're going to go through. You're going to validate all these people. And here's the flow chart for validation. Okay. All right. First off, does the prospective tenant make at least 3 times monthly rent? If the answer is no, yes. Well, can they get a cosigner? Okay. If the answer is no, boom, you boot them out. They do not pass go. They do not collect $200. Okay. Back on the first question, if they do have ample income, they got an income that's at least 3 times monthly rent, and the answer is yes, then you go do the background check. Okay. Now, or again, if they can get a cosigner to make up the difference in income. So you would do a background check. Okay. First thing is this: if they have any evictions at all on their background check, automatically denied. Don't let anybody in your apartment if they've ever been evicted before. And you've got a veteran agent on the line here that just told you she did that and got burned on it. Okay, and I have done it too. That's why I know. Okay, if there's no evictions on a record, then you do the criminal background check. Okay, if there's a yes on the criminal background check, boom, they're denied. You do not pass go. If there's no criminal background, you go down here to check out your references. Okay. If all the references are okay, you've called their mom because mom is her #1 reference, and she says, "Yep, Johnny's a good boy." Actually, all joking aside, check out the references, and again, go one layer deeper. Ask the references for references, and see if you can't get a hold of people one layer deep. Okay, one layer removed from the person. If everything checks out, then you go do the employment check. Okay, you verify the income, you verify the position they're in. If the answer is yes, that yep, they pass, and all the personal references check out, because you got to check those too, then they're approved. If the personal references don't check out, obviously that's a bad sign, because remember, these applicants put the personal references on the application. Okay, if they're not even smart enough to realize that somebody they've asked to be a reference for them is basically calling them out, there's something there. There's something for you to be concerned about. Also, a lot of times they don't even ask people if they can be used as a reference. They just simply name them, and which is a mistake. If you ever are asked for references, you should always, whoever you plan on using as a reference, always ask that person for permission. Okay. So in any case, that's how you get somebody approved. So let me go back here and look for more questions. Okay. All right, let's see. Hi, Gary. It's Carol from Danville. Will you have time tonight to discuss the email I sent you? Oh, Carol. Carol, thank you for bringing it up. Let me go check your email here. Hang on 1 second. I need to go. Oops. And I think it was in here. Carol, let's see what we have here, because I think that was just last week, if I'm not mistaken. Come on, computer. Is thinking about it. Let's see. Carol, GIA Realistic Investors. So I answered that there. Let's go back to here. Okay. Now, Carol, before we get into your email, and by the way, I did look at this. So this was a great email and a great subject. Well, let me go back to here. Whoops. Sorry. Tenant screening. Is everybody clear on the steps you take for screening someone? Again, we'll send you this link with the flow chart. And oh, somebody, Lana, is saying, how do you verify employment? When we called one company, they could not confirm, deny the person worked there because of privacy laws. Actually, they're wrong, Lana. You have to present them your signed application. What you do is you call them up. You say, I've got an application for tenancy from John Doe. I'm going to scan and email you the signed application from the applicant, or fax it to them, whatever the case is. And on there, what they're supposed to do is confirm employment, dates of employment, like they worked here from this date to that date, and salary. Those are the three things that they're allowed to disclose. Okay, they can't get into any other personal subjects related to an applicant, even with your signed application. So I would always prevent them to sign application. Okay, if they deny you information, I would consider that a red flag. All right, that's my feeling on that. This is Marina. I like bigger pockets. Yeah, I know a couple of investors nationally that really love bigger pockets. They say it's really helped their business, and I'm not too involved in it, but I am involved with the guys, and I think they're pretty good guys, and I like what they do. Okay, it's a great forum for people like us. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Lana. All right, let's go to, because we're now at 7:58. I want to get to Carol's email. Whoops, sorry, I keep jumping around here. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to slide my panel over. So everybody pay attention, because this is a really good one here. All right. Hi, Gary. I'm working with an investor that found me on Realtor.com. He's looking at properties $300,000 to $700,000 range. He prefers properties that have been vacant for 30 days or longer. Okay, and he wants to flip them. So he agreed to work with him, so that was good. Let's see. Of course, that's right. You were saying you brought your partner in because you were wise to do that. Never go out and show up a single property by yourself to an individual person. You're just putting yourself at risk. Always, always, always bring someone with you, okay? And make sure it's during daylight hours if at all possible, right? Now, the second thing is this. Let's see. He would not give me any information about himself and his investment practices. How long have you been doing this, for example? Will it be all cash? Do you need financing? In any case, here's my opinion on this, Carol. You always want to interview these guys before you agree to work with them. And part of the interview process is, number one, you always build rapport so you can find out really what their penchant is. Do they prefer flipping? Do they prefer buying rentals? And then before you're done, you say, well, now that we've got this out of the way, I do have some questions I need to ask you for screening purposes, because the people that we're going to be working with require that we confirm that you are qualified to buy these properties. So can you please tell me what you have in the way of savings? Can you tell me what you have in the way of an available line of credit to purchase properties? Or if you have a pre-approval letter from a lender, can you tell me what your credit rating is, okay? If they refuse to do that, I would not work with them. All right, I know I may have just broke your heart, but quite frankly, this guy could tie up a lot of your time and energy and resources and never follow through with a single purchase. I know he's what he's thinking is, hey, this is my personal information. What he needs to understand is he's playing in a game that involves multiple people. And the sellers of properties and their agents are requiring validation, that you validate these people are qualified, your clients are qualified. So you have to do that. Otherwise, what if he's not? You're just assuming he is because he told you so, but it doesn't mean that it's so, okay? Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Let's see here. He likes one that he's seen. It's a minor fixer-upper, listed for $580 and been on the market for 30 days, and he wants to offer $431, difference of $148,000, which is 26% off listing price. Okay, I understand it as an investor, you have to have a certain percentage you need to make so the return on your investment is worth it. But my opinion is this is far too apart for a serious offer. The properties in Concord, California, not as high as Danville, but I know where Concord is, by the way, and it's pretty decent. It is pretty close to the Bay Area, East Bay side. I know where that is too. I'll be back out there in another couple of months. Any case, so what do we do? Now I responded to Carol guys the other day suggesting go ahead and make the offer for two reasons. Number one is I want her to show this guy what happens when you make little offers like this, which is typically nothing's going to happen. Now we could be surprised. It's 26% off. It's not 50% off. I've always made offers as long as they were within 20% of list price. In some markets, I would go as high as 25% off. This is 26% off, so it's not that far off. But also, Carol, I did look at some of the related information. So let's pull it up, okay? And let's see what we got in the way of neighborhood information and comparable information in the area for the property. All right, we can see it's a detached single-family residential, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it is on Sugarland Drive in Concord, California. So we come down to here, and what I want to look for is comps, okay? So let's go down to the comps. We get descriptions here, we get other features, all that normal stuff you get on MLS, okay? Now we get down here to comps. We can see properties are sold for 600, 580, 490, and 520, all right? That's a pretty broad range between 490 and 600. That's about a greater than a 15% difference, okay? So let's look at the ones that have sold for higher prices. Let's look at this one here, the very first one. It's a comp. So this is a subject property, 579,950, which is 580, and 1,364 square feet. Now let's look at the closest comp, which is on Deerberry, and ironically, it's the same living area, okay, 1364 is probably the same identical floor plan, I'm willing to bet, pretty darn close anyways. Now the lot is a little bit smaller, but not by much. It's also built in the same time frame, 77 versus 78. But let's look at here, beautifully updated, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, fantastic floor plan, remodeled kitchens and bathrooms, stainless steel appliances, new countertops, new lights, new flooring. So this looks like a flip, okay, which is excellent news, because what that means is whoever buys Sugarland could likely remodel it and sell it for around the same price, okay? This is an excellent comp for us. And again, if you look at Sugarland, obviously it doesn't say that it's been remodeled and all that kind of stuff. So if this guy can get this property for 430, 431, whatever it was, that would be pretty good, because you can remodel it and sell it and make a tremendous profit. Now, he may have to end up paying $450 for it or $475. I don't know. There's no way to know that. But that's another reason why I would get the offer going in. Okay, it's been out there for 30 days. Days on market in your area, Carol, is very short. So 30 days means the property is not priced properly. Okay, we got another one here. Let's see here. Sold for 580 right down the road. That was just at the end of August. This was in September, by the way. So those are two. These are probably our two best comps here. These last two are kind of old. They're back in June and May. So let's just focus on these two. Let's see. Beautiful single-family home located as Desirable Walnut Crossings. Let's see here. Charming brick with yard, very well maintained. Okay, just normal comments, nothing real spectacular. Any case, so Carol, what I would suggest is, I would make the offer, okay, and see what the heck happens, all right? Because two things. Either the guy's going to start to get wise, realizing he's going too low on his offers. Number one. Number two is the owner of this property is going to start to think, well, maybe my property is not worth that much. Maybe I need to lower my price, okay? And if they lower it by, another 30,000, they go to 550, and your guy makes an offer at 450. That's only 20% off list price, okay? Now you're in the ball game. So let's go back to the email, all right? So in any case, yeah, I would make the offer, see how close you can get him in negotiating. And I wouldn't bank on this being worked out, but these guys may come down in price. These guys might go up in price, and you might be able to get that deal worked out. I've learned in the past, Carol, if I can get my people to within 10% of each other, I can make that deal work. I'll figure out ways. There's ways to do it. In fact, Carol, if you get to that point, please call me. Okay, you've all got my cell phone number, and I want to give you some negotiating tactics that you can use to take some of the expenses um, from the seller side, shift them over to the buyer, so you lower the price. The buyer gets to more of a tax write-off because he's paying more of the expenses. The seller still gets his net difference. That's just one of the techniques I used when I get people close like that. Okay. So in any case, Carol, I hope that helps you. I hope I didn't break your heart, but I hope I also gave you some things to think about. So let me go back to the questions here. Let's see. This is from Marina Wong. Okay. More and more large companies also charge a fee for employment verification and will charge more if you verify income. Is that in that case? I just asked for their pay stub. Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Marina. So what I do too is I also ask them for verification of income. Could be pay stubs. That's perfectly legitimate in my case and in my eyes. Okay. So in any case, that was another question on the rentals. But back to Carol's email, guys. Does anybody have questions on Carol's email and the comp she showed and my suggestions for her? Carol says, thank you. We just had an earthquake. So I guess my information was pretty profound. It was earth shaking, huh? Uh, oh my gosh. I've been in an earthquake before, Carol. And first time was a little bit disheartening because you feel like you're so much like out of control, like you have no control over what's happening. So hopefully that was an easy one that just passed. So I'm glad you're okay because obviously you texted us, your question us, so I'm assuming you're okay. Hopefully that was a minor one and that was all you're going to see. Okay, guys, let's see. It is 8:09. We had an excellent session tonight. We got to focus on one subject completely. We went through it thoroughly, and I hope that everybody gained from that. Keep in mind, again, next week we're going to try to get Beverly online to go over your contact management system and things you can do with it to help you build it, maintain it, and use it to make profit. Okay? And remember, 2 weeks later is Seth Green, the Facebook online marketing Facebook guru. He's they call him the marketing magician because he really does get results. I can tell you, I've used him personally. He gets results. Let's see. Okay, we've been having clusters of them, 400 over the last 2 weeks. Well, that's not good because I know in my experience, I've got family out there, and I've been out there before when we had one. It was up on the San Andreas Fault, actually. And that's usually a precursor to something more coming down the road. So hopefully all these little 400 plus jitters are getting all the kinks worked out, and you won't have any big deals coming down the road, Carol. So we'll say a prayer for you. How's that? Okay, guys, I had a wonderful night. I hope you did too. I thank you again so much for being on board and being online on these webinars. It's a great learning tool, and God bless you. We will see you next week. And next week, by the way, is going to be on Thursday the 5th, okay? Okay, y'all have a wonderful night, a wonderful week, and an awesome weekend. God bless you.